Would you forgive somebody who burnt every opportunity they got? Because today we're watching Nina Lynn is allergic to accountability.
Last October, there was a lot of instances that happened with our group member, Nina.
Yo, you might be fucking retarded, bro. Are you good in the head?
Can you say that on stream?
Take it off. Hey, yo, cut the cameras. Yo, cut the cameras, bro. Zo, do your shit.
You know, one of the things that made it hard for us to continue as a group was that it always had to be her way. And it would always be, well, I'm gonna do with me. Time and time again, like, hey, you know, we are trying to hold what we thought was a friend accountable, and that friend says we're not being friends because we're trying to hold them accountable.
Well, I darn near forgot about Nina Lynn, but it seems as though the rain is continuing to pour on her. Just a year ago, she seemed to have one of the most bubbling and bright careers in the new streaming era. Collaborations with Agent, appearances on Stream University.
For sure. After that Drewski show that she was in, she had golden pathway of opportunity.
The connections with the Phase guys, and she had a consistent group channel, 03, that was actually doing very, very well with some very, very prominent members. But within a year, all of that went away, and it was due to one thing and one thing only: her inability to hold herself accountable for her actions, apologize, do the work, and ultimately move on. So when her group decided to put out a video talking about how they decided to part ways from her, I thought it would be a perfect time to teach the lesson that you cannot escape your digital footprint. And at the end of the day, accountability trumps all. If you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna hold you guys accountable. You're consuming content from me. The least you can do is click that little subscribe button down below. It will go a long, long way for this community. Now, back into the video. Like I said, Nina Lynn had a sweet deal. Most content creators have to come up by themselves, build their own audience, build their own brand. And not taking it away from her, she did that in her own regards, but she quickly was able to team up with two very solid YouTubers, Jimmy Zhang, who has 1 million subscribers, and Edward So, who basically has 1 million subscribers, in order to create a group channel called 03. They would do IRL lifestyle content, dating style challenges, you know, the typical 20v1 AMP-esque videos. And this,
just like how AMP is like really knitted into the Black community, 03 could have really been knitted into the Asian community. And I'm sure they are, but Nina had the capacity, had the capability to really talk to all of those specific demographic of people.
Coupled along with her appearances with people like Fan or Wendy Ortiz, meant that Nina Lynn pretty much had a fast track to being one of the biggest names in not just streaming, but content creation as a whole. I think one very underrated thing about Nina is her background. I'm talking about her ethnicity, nationality, and her race. She was going to be somebody who was going to be able to resonate with a whole Eastern culture that those in the United States could not do. In fact, she acted as some sort of medium / translator for content creators in the past because they needed her to basically gain access to that whole culture that has billions of people in it. But instead of nurturing this opportunity that she had, Nina ultimately squandered it. Over the past year, Nina Lynn has been in controversy after controversy.
This is Nina? Are we sure? Did we get this off of just Google? Did we Google Asian woman?
After controversy after controversy. And I'm not gonna go into super depth about it. I've made plenty of videos, whether it be her just being a general nuisance at a nail salon, her in this kleptomania that she just has in her body, and definitely the Saeed situation where she not only participated in the essay, but also then went on to...
I'm fucking crying. Do you know the amount of men that would literally really would put their hands around a person's throat to be chased by women?
Deny the essay over and over and over and over and over again. Now, off top, controversy isn't something that is like career ending. We've seen different content creators go through many different controversies, some that I would say are way worse than what Nina even went through, but have ultimately bounced back from those things. They've then gone on to have bigger, better, greater careers than even before they were in said controversy. But if I had to say the one thing that would define if you are going to bounce back and then bounce up out of this atmosphere, or bounce up and then bounce down through the floor when it comes to being a controversial figure, is one thing and one thing alone, and that's accountability for your actions.
Nina, you somebody, Nina, you shoplifted. Can we tone it down? All of that just like in one ear out the other. Hey, maybe it's not okay to do that to a mom who's out in the salon or whatever. Maybe it's not okay to do that at Target. Maybe it's not okay to do that to a taxi driver. There's a
gang, what are you doing? And we know you got the bread for it.
A lot of things that weren't okay, and it would always be, well, I'm gonna do with me. Time and time again, like, hey, we are trying to hold what we thought was a friend accountable, and that friend says we're not being friends because we're trying to hold them accountable.
Neither brown nor white sugar was involved in this coding because because they kept it pretty straightforward. Nina Lynn is somebody that we don't have the same values, morals, and principles as, and therefore we are going to go ahead and sever ties with her. According to the two other members of the group O3, Nina Lynn constantly wanted to do things her way, was the loudest one in every single argument. She struggled.
She is from New York, so that probably tracks.
To see other people's perspectives, and they could not come to an agreement on what they stood for. In other words, it wasn't just one mistake, but it was the problem as to how she handled every single mistake. Shameless plug, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record every single time I say this, but you know, some people don't know that I did these things in my past, and also I like to give my real world experience as to how things go on behind the scenes. But I did work for a big group, one of the biggest groups on the internet right now. I'll give you a little bit of secret. It's 3 letters. It features 6 guys, AMP. And I also have a current podcast, which is essentially a group channel as well, where I have 2 other co-hosts. And I'm here to tell you that the behind the scenes things that O3 said that they struggled with Nina Lynn are things that happen in every single group. There's constantly going to be bickering. There's going to be people who are super creative.
Which, to answer my question from the very beginning about opportunity, burning it, I ain't gonna lie, as like a business, if you're fucking up ads, you're fucking up the group's bag, like you're just doing nonsensical shit, gang, we're gonna have to cut ties. Some people would say, yo, you're selling out. Personally, because of the fact that you're fucking up the group's perception, you're fucking up, brands will look at us because you want to do nonsensical shit because you want to be yourself, but just not on a platform that has connections to all of us.
Creative, trying to come to one conclusion, and somebody's gonna be very loud in the conversation as to why their POV is the better way to go in this particular time. And as far as vision goes, hell, life changes those things. So oftentimes people aren't aligned as to what they're gonna do in the next year, 2 years, or hell, 6 months even. But at the end of the day, the reason why AMP is still around, my podcast, Let's Keep It a Buck podcast, is still around, the Sidemen are still around, or any other group content is still around, is because accountability and compromise are something that continuously happen in those organizations. And I don't even have to be a part of them to know that. So if I think the thumbnail needs to be red and my podcast mate Bezos thinks the podcast needs to be blue, ultimately somebody needs to come to a compromise. And it can't always be my way or the highway. Otherwise, it's not a group channel, it's somebody's solo project with some reoccurring castmates. And if you're gonna do that, gang, then I might as well stay on my own damn platform and do whatever I wanna do. No, that's just the surface level stuff. There's also the...
I believe that you can mix business and friendship, but you have to have the same morals, values, and principles. Now, maybe not all down to the exact fucking detail, but to some degree, yo, we don't steal on camera. Can everybody agree on that? There's a certain way you gotta conduct yourself, especially when you know you are connected to other people's brands.
Fact that there's an accountability issue every time that Nina Lynn gets into some sort of scandal. Here's the truth about the internet. Creators can survive just about anything, any situation, any sorts of adversity, any bad problems, as long as they are self-aware about how they participated in that action. We've seen public mistakes, bad behavior, bad tweets, scandals, the list goes on and on and on. Hell, I even think it's a problem in today's society that we are so forgiving, but that's just the reality of what it is. But the problem is when faced with those things that I just mentioned, if you're arrogant and your ego is forthcoming in all of these situations, then you're not gonna have a bunch of fans who will support you going forward. And these are some of the criticisms of Nina Lynn as told by others. She dismisses backlash, she calls critics soft, she refuses to apologize, and oftentimes she doubles down in said behavior.
I be holding Ron accountable for shit, I be holding Adapt accountable for shit, they be holding me accountable for shit. As a group, you gotta come together, hold each other accountable. And sometimes you're not always right, man, and selfish people in a group will never work out, man. Facts.
You would never see me in a car with Jason Lewine, I promise.
I get that. You beef with him too?
No, he beef with me. I don't beef with him. Because everyone's bitch made. What do you want me to do? You bitch made, it is what it is, bro. Like, what do you want me to do? I can't.
This is some real New York, some very New York ass perspective right here.
Lie.
Stuff like that is where the controversy stops being entertaining and starts becoming exhausting. When you start to be known for things like that, then ultimately people are gonna wanna move away from you. They're not gonna wanna hang out with you. Not only because their community has issue with you, you know, people don't like to continuously see these arrogant people, you know, be content creators, etc., etc. Especially because a lot of these content creators are fan funded in the first place. Like the subscriptions and the watch time is all done by fans. Why would
Yes, Nina? Hell no. What? 52 racks?
I want to watch somebody who is some sort of arrogant asshole. But also other content creators will move away from you because you're annoying and the fan perspective is just lost. You slowly start to burn those bridges over time. And then it becomes a sort of situation where people start to feel like they are guilty by association. And honestly, I think that that's a fair and valid criticism. I know that there's been some conversation about that this past weekend about hanging out with streamers who do controversial things as somebody who is a non-controversial streamer. But ultimately, people are going to start questioning who you align with as a content creator. If you're
I think there should be a little bit of pizzazz, just a little bit of sprinkle of controversy, if not being in the controversy, giving your opinion or having connections to the person that's in the controversy. I think it plays a good little, like, you know, it adds a little bit of flair.
a controversial streamer and you keep going wild and you keep going crazy, somebody who is just a simple desktop reactor who is, you know, pretty nonchalant and chill is not going to want to be seen with you. Because if they are seen with you, audiences are going to start to speculate and question where your values lie. This conversation to me isn't about shoplifting or arguments or viral clips or, you know, just the other outrageous and controversial things that people say. Everybody on the internet is not perfect. Hell, I do wild stuff, you know, from time to time. But at the end of
Omizi, what the fuck do you do? Not in a negative sense, but like, what wild things do you actually do? Omizi's the type of guy to say that he's drinking a Sprite instead of a water with his meal. And he's saying something like, oh, I'm being a bad man today.
Of the day, if you can acknowledge where you mess up, apologize for the things that you say, and then look to grow afterwards, then I think that everybody's okay with you being a simple human being. But if you double and triple down on those things, gaslight people, and then ultimately shit on not only just your fan base, but the other fan bases around you, that's when people have a problem. Now, do I think that this is the end of Nina Lynn? Absolutely not. Maybe for videos on this channel, unless she does some of the most absolute insane shit in the world, then of course I'm gonna get it off. I got a wedding to pay for. But I think even greater than her losing
Wait, you're getting married? Okay, well, congrats.
a couple of different fans or the commentators POV where they're giving videos for Nina Lynn, I think she's losing something that is much more detrimental. That network that she had, the one that allowed her to go to these big and major events and be broadcasted to a much wider audience. Nina Lynn got something that people begged for, an opportunity, a chance, a platform, and a network that afforded her endless opportunities in this content creation field. And she squandered it because she couldn't take accountability for clear mistakes that she had done in her past. And I hope that this serves as some sort of lesson for any other content creators going forward. The internet is very, very, very forgiving, but you have to be willing to do something for that forgiveness and not be a dickhead and an asshole.
For sure. I already gave you guys my perspective question in the very beginning. So tell me what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments below. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Like up, sub up, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Grit your teeth and chase your dreams.